It starts like any ordinary day, a drive that feels completely normal, not a scene from a movie, not a dramatic escape. Just you behind the wheel, the road stretching ahead, the radio playing some song you barely remember, and traffic lights changing their familiar rhythm. Each moment flowing with a sense of calm that almost tricks your mind into believing the world is steady and predictable. You think about your daily life, what work lies ahead, the rising cost of fuel, plans for dinner, a message you forgot to reply to. And in this quiet routine, the streets, the cars, the people around you all seem anchored in a predictable rhythm. The city hums softly, the sun casts its usual shadows on buildings, and for a moment, everything appears completely ordinary. And that's exactly why the slightest shift, the first hint of something unusual, can feel so unsettling. Because there is no dramatic alarm, no countdown, no cinematic warning. Only the subtle change in the air, a fleeting notification on your phone, the quiet sense that something is different. You notice details you never paid attention to before. The way reflections move on the car windows, the shifting light on the asphalt, the faint hum of electronics, the way people glance around without saying anything, all of it layering into an invisible tension that sits just below the surface of normality. Your thoughts race, connecting mundane worries to an unspoken sense of alertness, while the city continues in its ordinary cadence, as if unaware of the ripple of uncertainty threading through your awareness. And in that strange, quiet moment, you realize that even in the midst of routine, nothing is ever entirely predictable, and the world you trusted for its stability now feels fragile, like the calm before a storm, a tension that is felt rather than seen, a cinematic shift in perception that transforms a simple drive into something far more compelling, where every glance, every sound, every fleeting signal matters. And even though nothing overt has changed, you are aware that the ordinary day you started with has subtly, irrevocably, begun to feel different. It starts subtly, with a single vibration on your phone, barely noticeable at first, a whisper of warning that something is wrong. Then another, more insistent, a subtle pulse that makes your chest tighten. Your dashboard flickers as if responding to the signal, and soon every phone around you lights up at once, buzzing in unison, creating a rhythm of impending tension. A notification appears, sharp and inescapable, a bold alert demanding immediate shelter. Though it's unclear exactly what threat looms, your mind resists, rejecting it as impossible, as if this could never happen here, as if someone will step in and correct this mistake. Traffic slows unpredictably, not from understanding, but from confusion spreading faster than fear itself. Some drivers pull over hesitantly, others speed ahead recklessly, and a few simply freeze, caught in the paralysis of disbelief. The radio cuts out, leaving an eerie silence, and then comes a voice, calm, too calm, delivering words that slice through the tension. Authorities have confirmed multiple launches, and impact is estimated within 10 to 15 minutes. 10 minutes. You have never measured time so carefully in your life. Each second stretching into eternity as adrenaline and fear mingle, the world outside a blur of frozen motion, glowing phone screens, and uncertain shadows. Every detail matters now. The shifting light across the cracked pavement, the way reflections dance across nearby cars, the subtle vibrations in your hands, the electric hum of the city as it collectively holds its breath. This is not a story you could have imagined, yet here you are, suspended between disbelief and instinct, the ordinary world giving way to a tension so palpable it feels cinematic, like the opening of a thriller where every heartbeat is amplified, every glance loaded with meaning, and every choice might be the one that makes the difference between surviving the unknown and being swallowed by it. Here's the problem. Your brain was never designed for moments like this. When the world suddenly feels unstable and uncertainty floods every decision, the human mind doesn't rise to the occasion. It falls back on habit. Under extreme pressure, logic doesn't take control, instinct does. You don't become sharper, you become predictable. Your thoughts immediately pull you toward familiar ideas, getting home as fast as possible, reaching for your phone to hear a loved one's voice, continuing forward as if routine alone can protect you. It feels safer to follow the plan you already had, Safer to believe that if you don't change anything, nothing will change around you. But large-scale crises don't respond to personal plans or emotional comfort. They move independently, indifferent to intention, timing, or hope. In these moments, survival isn't about strength or speed, it's about awareness. The most dangerous mistake is assuming that your instincts are helping you, when in reality they are guiding you toward the same choices everyone else is making. Crowded roads, familiar routes, shared reactions. These are not signs of safety, they are signs of predictability. And predictability, in times of geopolitical instability, is a vulnerability. When everyone reacts the same way, risk concentrates. The worst place to be is not the unknown, it's the obvious. Because when pressure hits, the places people rush toward feel comforting, but they quickly become traps. Staying alive means recognizing this mental shortcut, slowing down your reaction, and understanding that the safest decision is often the one that feels wrong at first, the one that separates you from the crowd, breaks routine, and forces your brain to think instead of react. Highways are always the first systems to fail, because they are built on the assumption that everyone will keep moving forward, calmly and logically. But the moment a large-scale emergency begins, that assumption collapses, traffic slows, then freezes, and within minutes the road turns into a solid wall of metal and people, where a single stalled vehicle or minor collision is enough to trap thousands behind it, stretching for miles in every direction. Overpasses that once felt like shortcuts now become choke points where nothing flows, and tunnels that were designed for speed and efficiency suddenly feel narrow, dark, and suffocating, amplifying fear and uncertainty. Because when movement stops, there is no room to maneuver, no space to adapt, only waiting. And in situations shaped by geopolitical tension and global instability, danger does not always announce itself clearly or arrive directly. Pressure in the environment changes, the air feels different, distant flashes light up the sky, and the force of events happening far away can still travel outward, shifting vehicles, cracking glass, and turning ordinary materials into hazards without warning, reminding us that modern cars, no matter how advanced or expensive, are designed for comfort and speed, not for protection. In moments like these, their technology offering information but not safety. And as alerts glow on dashboards and phones vibrate with warnings, the realization slowly settles in that the road no longer represents freedom or escape. It represents visibility, openness, and exposure, because being out in the open means there is nowhere to hide, nowhere to absorb the pressure of unfolding events. Only long lines of stopped vehicles under a heavy sky, filled with people who all believed they were simply passing through, until the world changed around them, and the place meant to carry them forward became the very thing holding them still. People who have lived through moments of global conflict often struggle to explain what they heard, because it wasn't loud in the way explosions are loud, and it wasn't quiet either. It was something stranger, something deeply unsettling, a sound that didn't belong in the sky at all, a low, stretching pressure that felt wrong the instant it reached you, as if the atmosphere itself was under stress, pulling tight, tearing at the edges. And when that sound arrives, your instincts don't tell you to look up, because looking up feels useless, almost dangerous, like your body understands before your mind does that whatever is happening is already moving faster than thought, faster than reaction, faster than fear. And in that suspended moment, the world seems to slow down, even though everything important is speeding up. Time feels thin and fragile. Decisions become instinct, not logic. And people lower their heads not because they know exactly what's above them, but because they know enough to sense that awareness alone won't change the outcome. The sky carries a weight that doesn't announce itself with noise or silence, but with pressure, with tension, with the feeling that something irreversible is already unfolding beyond sight, beyond sound, beyond control. And by the time your eyes try to catch up, by the time curiosity or disbelief pushes you to search the clouds, the moment that mattered has already passed, leaving behind only stillness, unanswered questions, and the quiet realization that in a world shaped by geopolitics and distant decisions, some events don't arrive with warning. They arrive already in motion, already decided, already part of history before you even understand what you heard. If you are driving when a missile alert or major emergency is issued, Every second suddenly becomes valuable, not because of panic, but because of decision-making. And the first thing to understand is that roads are no longer safe places to wait or observe. They turn into bottlenecks where movement slows and control disappears. So the smartest move is to get off the road as soon as possible without hesitation. Even if that means leaving your vehicle behind, because a car is replaceable, but your life is not. And once you step away from traffic, your focus should immediately shift toward finding lower ground, places designed to absorb pressure and noise, such as basements, underground parking structures, subway entrances, or any reinforced area below street level. Because history and modern safety planning both show that depth increases survival by reducing exposure. And while moving, you must avoid glass and wide open spaces, since windows can shatter and open streets offer no protection. Whereas solid walls, corners, and enclosed corridors provide physical barriers that matter more than distance alone. And just as important as where you go is who you stay near, because large crowds often create confusion, panic, and unpredictable movement that can cause more harm than the event itself. So creating space between yourself and dense groups allows you to think clearly, move deliberately, and respond instead of reacting. And throughout all of this, the goal is not to run blindly or act on fear, but to stay calm, observe your surroundings, and make choices that reduce risk step by step, understanding that emergencies reward preparation and awareness, not speed without direction. And while no situation is ever fully predictable, choosing shelter over traffic, walls over windows, calm over chaos, and distance over crowds dramatically improves your chances of staying safe until the situation stabilizes. Because survival in moments like these is rarely about heroic actions, but about quiet, informed decisions made quickly and without hesitation. If a strike happens nearby, the first thing that arrives is not chaos, but silence. An unnatural, heavy silence that presses against your ears until they ring and your sense of balance slips away. As if time itself has fractured, the air thickens with dust and haze, turning the world into a blurred outline where even your own hands feel distant. Phones lose their signal without warning, engines refuse to respond, and familiar systems quietly fail all at once, while sirens begin to echo from every direction, overlapping and disorienting, creating a soundscape that feels endless. This is the moment where instinct betrays people, where panic pushes them to move too quickly, to run without seeing, to breathe without thinking, mistaking motion for safety. Even though the environment has changed and the rules no longer apply, standing too fast can send the world spinning. Rushing forward can lead deeper into danger, and every breath pulls an uncertainty instead of relief, because the threat didn't end with the impact. It evolved, becoming quieter, less visible, more deceptive, hiding in the air, in the silence, in the confusion, turning calm into a false signal and patience into the most difficult decision of all, as the world around you looks still, but remains profoundly unstable. After the blast, the danger doesn't announce itself with sound or fire. It settles quietly into the air around you, turning every breath into a calculated risk, because the smoke hanging over the streets is no longer just smoke. It's a mix of unseen chemicals, crushed materials, and particles so small you can't feel them. Only inhale them, and the faster you breathe, the deeper they travel, filling your lungs before your mind even catches up, which is why panic becomes your enemy here. Speed works against you. Survival now depends on slowing everything down. Your steps, your thoughts, your breathing, moving carefully through the haze as if the air itself is watching, covering your mouth not out of fear, but out of instinct, creating even the smallest barrier between you and what you can't see. Because this is no longer about escaping fast, it's about lasting longer, staying sheltered whenever possible, behind walls, inside structures, anywhere the air feels heavier but safer, waiting while the outside world shifts into something unfamiliar. And if the moment comes when staying still is no longer an option, you don't move toward comfort or memory or the places your body wants to go on autopilot. You move away from where the danger began, even if that path feels wrong, even if it leads you somewhere unknown, because familiar streets can become traps, and the idea of home may no longer match reality. The place you're trying to reach might be gone, changed, or unreachable. And even if it still stands, The journey itself can carry more risk than staying where you are. So every decision becomes quieter, heavier, more deliberate, not driven by fear, but by awareness. Understanding that the greatest threats now are invisible, carried on the air, lingering long after the noise has faded. And the people who survive aren't the ones who run blindly toward what they remember, but the ones who adapt to what the world has become, breathing slower, thinking clearer, and choosing life one careful step at a time. The hardest part isn't fear, because fear is loud and obvious and your body knows how to react to it. But uncertainty is quiet and heavy and far more dangerous, because in this moment you won't know how many missiles were launched. You won't know if what you just saw was the end or only the beginning. You won't know whether more are coming or how close they might be. And you won't know when help will arrive or if it already has. And that lack of answers will pull your thoughts in every direction at once, toward the people you love, toward the places you wish you were, toward the future you suddenly can't see clearly anymore. And your mind will demand clarity and instructions and reassurance. But none of that may come when you want it to. And this is where most people make their worst decisions, because they confuse action with safety. But survival in moments like this is not about movement or speed. It is about patience and restraint and resisting the urge to do something, just to feel in control, because history and survivors tell the same quiet truth over and over again, that in the middle of chaos, the people who waited, who stayed low, who stayed aware, who didn't rush toward uncertainty, were the ones who lived, not because they were braver or stronger, but because they understood that sometimes the most powerful decision you can make is to pause, breathe, and let the moment pass before it decides your fate for you.